one thing I really liked that you brought up is the customizing the resume for the job application. That's one of the things that I kind of hit on with people is you want to have your maybe you have a longer form resume that has all of your experience and that's your basic one that you go off of. But for every application, you're customizing, you're tailoring it, you're cutting it down to that job application. So you have basically you're kind of constantly updating your resume throughout the application process. You're not just slapping the same thing together and sending it everywhere. That'll improve your success. Now I have a couple of I've expressed a couple of different opinions and I've heard a couple of different opinions about resumes. So quickly, I'd like to go through a couple of them with you and kind of get your
Okay.
take as somebody. So first of all, is there any level of experience at which it makes sense to have more than a one-page resume?
Well, I think some of that has to do with years of experience. Now, this is another problem. Everybody is at a race to see how many jobs they can have in a short period of time. This is a big bugaboo. I mean, people think that the more jobs they have, the more experience they have to offer. But to most employers, they see that as job hopping.
Yeah.
So don't go back more than, if you have anybody with a little bit more experience in entry level, don't go back more than 10 years. First of all, things that were done 10 years ago aren't done the same anymore. And also, it just lengthens a resume and it may add stuff to it that people during the interview, if you get one, are going to really want to drill down on and say, well, why did you change? You've had 5 jobs in the past 3 years. Why do you keep changing jobs?
Yeah.
Then you got to defend yourself. You're not selling yourself anymore. You're defending yourself. Say, well, and there's reasonable explanations. Company closed down, company merged, they had a general
Yeah.
layoff. We get that. Or maybe they've done some consulting. I mean, I get resumes with 30 or 40 jobs on them, and people forget in parentheses next to them not to put the word consulting. They should. Because then we think, gee, were these regular full-time jobs? He lost them all, or she lost them all. Oh no, consulting. That's a different story.
Yeah.
You knew from day one that that job had an expiration date, and that's fine. But I think that it's very important to keep it as short as possible. If you have a lot of years of experience and it's good experience, and you keep it under 10 years, yeah, you're going to have a few more jobs. You may go to a page and a half, maybe 2 pages. But I've had 15-page resumes, and they're written like doctoral theses sometimes. I mean, there's all sorts of jargon all over it, assuming that people really know what all this stuff is, because even though we're in engineering, there's a lot of engineering things we don't do. And, you got to sit there and try to figure out, what does that mean? Is that something we do? So try to keep it simple. Maybe write it to an eighth grade education. Try to keep it really every fact or point on there should be an additional reason for that employer to want to see you. That's a good rule of thumb, by the way. If you took a basket weaving course in college, keep it off there. Nobody wants to see that. You
Yeah.
want to just basically show that what we're looking for is that trying to find a candidate that needs the least amount of additional training. That's a win for us, because if we have to train people from scratch, it takes time and cost. So if you have stuff that you did on an intern or a co-op, please include that. Be specific. Some people will just put the company they worked at and the dates and nothing under it. What did you do there? That tells me nothing. So think about it. I always say, make believe you have $30,000 of your own money and you're starting your own little business and you're going to hire somebody. All of a sudden, there's a sense of importance to who you hire. You're going to leave them there. They're going to be in charge of maybe a cash register or whatever. So you're going to really scrutinize those individuals and make sure that you're confident that this is somebody you really want dealing with your customers, working with cash, etc. So my point is, take pride in that resume, understand what the importance of it is to an employer, and tailor that resume to show your best.
Thank you so much for watching this segment of the Engineering Success Podcast. If you liked it, make sure to check out the other videos down below that are recommended to you. And if you really like the podcast, make sure to subscribe right down there in the middle. Really appreciate it. It's free to you and helps us a lot out. And last but not least, the best way to help the show grow is to comment down below. So leave your comment if you have any thoughts about this segment. Thanks.
I ain't chasing payments, still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.